can have whatever you want.
Good evening and welcome to the 6 p.m. City Council meeting of December 2nd, 2025. Please note that all council members are present. With that, I'll turn the time over to Vice Chair Heyer to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, please stand if you're able and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please take a moment of silence with me. Thank you. Next on our agenda is acknowledgements. There were a few happenings this weekend. Does anybody want to?
Chair, I'd like to make note of our parade, our holiday parade that we had last Saturday. It is remarkable to me that people come in the numbers that they do to stand in the cold and watch people go down the road. It is a great parade, and I want to thank all the people in the city, the volunteers, the staff that put all this together. It is remarkable to be out in the municipal gardens, see all the lights. Nearly 1 million lights up, 60 cottages that all come together in a symphony, so to speak. It makes me really proud to live in a town as Ogden and to have all the support of everybody. And so I just wanted to mention that it's remarkable that it happens, and it's pretty neat.
Chair, I have one. A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to serve Thanksgiving dinner at the Lantern House, and it was a wonderful experience. And there was a lot of groups were there to help do that. Our youth, Brandon, was there with the youth council, and they were helping, and it was just a wonderful event. And I'm thankful for our partnership with the Lantern House and all that they do to help out our community. And it's wonderful to be involved and to see all the different things that happen, especially now throughout the holidays. And to touch on Councilmember Hires, we rode OGX down to watch them light it's neat. It's neat to have a downtown that's so alive and so exciting, not just when it's 85 degrees and sunny, but throughout the year, and it continues to be. So it's just a great testament to our staff and the city, the people that work for our city, and all that they do to bring energy into our downtown, but also to our residents and the draw and the support that they give our city. So thanks,
Madam Chair. I have two. Two acknowledgments. The first one is for Anna Davidson, who works as a homeless advocate for Ogden City Police Department. She was nominated for the Athena Award. She's a finalist for the Ogden Weber Chamber of Commerce, and that's that's a big deal. So just shout out to Anna. And the second one is thanks to the city for promoting this Christmas season, the great work Public Works do for us. And I just want to say thanks to them for the outstanding job that they've done. From those that hang the lights to those that administrate and oversee things. And a special thanks for working with the giving machines for the Light the World campaign. That has been really beautiful part of our Ogden City celebration, and to be on the municipal block and see those giving machines is just extraordinary, and I like it a lot. I serve on that council, which is an interfaith council and a communication council, and there's a lot of work on our side that's done, but we couldn't do it without the city. So thanks.
Any other acknowledgements? All right, great. All right, let's move on with our agenda. We have the approval of minutes. First is the work session of October 21st, 2025. Councilmember Blair?
Yes, thank you, Chair Roy. I have reviewed those minutes and found them to be correct.
And the regular meeting of October 21st,
Madam Chair, I do have a correction to the work session of October 21st, 2025. There were some words that were attributed to Council Member Ritchie, at the very end of those comments, and I don't want to tarnish Council Member Ritchie's image, and I'll claim those words as my own. Just the very last part of acknowledgments there, and I would hate to put my words into Council Member Ritchie's mouth, and so I just want to make that correction. However, I have also reviewed the regular meeting minutes of October 21st, 2025, and found them to be correct, and would make a motion that we approve both sets of minutes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Myers and second by Councilmember Blair with the a noted correction for the work sessions. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Those comments must have been really smart.
They were. Yeah.
They're highly questionable. They involve branding.
He wanted to get him off of his back and onto yours. All right. Next on our agenda is the a consent item for the Ogden School District surplus of
Chair,
Taylor Canyon.
I'd make a motion that we remove item A from the consent item, which I guess would dissolve the consent item on the agenda so that we might have discussion.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Heyer and second by Councilmember Chaburka to remove the agenda item as a consent item, but have it as a regular item so that we can have more discussions. This is a voice vote to remove it, and all in favor?
Aye.
I think it's a voice vote.
It is.
Any opposed? All right, thanks. With that, we have now moved it to a regular item. So,
Maybe we could have Jeremy Smith come and make a presentation.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to write everything. All right, we thought that it would be great to have Jeremy Smith, yes, thank you, come up and give us an overview of this property and let us have a little bit of a discussion. So thank you.
Okay. Hello, council members. Yeah, I'm happy to give you an update on what's happening with this project and why it's coming before you today. So this is a Taylor Canyon Elementary School site owned by the Ogden School District. They have notified the city on September 2nd that they were surplusing or selling the property. Under Utah State Code, Ogden City has the first right of refusal for the purchase of this property, and so that's what we'll be looking at today. Just to give you a little background on what this site is, this was the former Taylor Canyon Elementary School site that has since been demolished. That occurred in 2022. Since that time, it's been functioning as open space, a neighborhood park, and that has been maintained by the school district up until this point. Like I mentioned, the school district has notified Ogden City of its intent to surplus the property. With that notice, Ogden City has until December 2nd, today, to formally notify the school district of its intention to purchase the property. And so the resolution that's being brought to you today is just an acknowledgement of the city's intention to move forward with that purchase. As I mentioned in the work session, this is not a formal agreement like a real estate purchase contract agreement. This just notifies them that the city is interested. And from this point, we'll take the next step, which is getting the property appraised. The school district will also get an appraisal on this. From those appraisals, they will average to determine a sales price. From that point, we can move on with real estate purchase contracts and agreements and all the other negotiations that come with land transactions. But again, this is just the first step that allows us to notify the school district that we are interested. But it's not a legal binding requirement that the city purchase it if it's determined that from the appraisals or whatever comes up that the city isn't interested. So with that, just a little background on the site itself. It's 4.23 acres, slopes east to west moderately, and is surrounded by residential. The majority is the R16 residential zone. And that would allow for similar zoning for this parcel as well, housing, but also park, and there's a list of acceptable things that could be allowed on this site. And as mentioned in the work session, administration does have a desire to look at this from the perspective as maintaining an open space use to some degree. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the process of acquisition. As far as future plans for the park, I don't have information that can tell you what, if this would be a park or what the intended use would be at this point. So happy to answer any questions you have.
Jeremy, I have a couple. I forgot to ask these in the work session. I know there's some stipulations with buying this property or buying it through the school district. If the city were to buy it and then sell it to, again, I'm not saying anything, just if the city were to buy it and then try to sell off a parcel to a developer, are they still held to same restrictions, or is there any restrictions?
There are. So the stipulations that the city buys it under, that has to meet those requirements that are found under that surplus provision that the state provides. Those do pass along to the development. It can't just be wash of those upon just a future transfer for that, as long as the city is the one selling it at that point. So those do maintain.
Okay. And then next, I got to see what I said here. Oh, no, I was going to ask, because the school district has been so gracious with the timeline and their willingness to work with us, what's the reasoning for doing this tonight, and what happens if we don't do it tonight?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the reason for doing it tonight is to meet the formal requirement from the state. So as the city, we prefer not to just operate under good intent and the word of mouth. If we know we're interested in this parcel and we can fulfill that obligation of meeting it in the time, then that's the recommendation to do so. We don't believe that, if they decided not to, that they would all of a sudden decide to sell it tomorrow. But at the same time, we always feel it's better, safer to operate under the statute.
Jeremy, I can add to that too. Sure. Since I've been the one that talked directly with the superintendent, when we talk about these deadlines and the timelines, he reinforces as well and repeats. He's like, just know those are state minimums and they're state minimum requirements. In a lot of different settings, when another district might be going through this and they're putting it out there, they might have a timeline that needs expediency I think the statute's intent is to make sure that they have a minimum requirement for timeline and that the district isn't strung along forever with an unset boundary for time. In this case, the goals for the district don't really diverge very much from ours. They want strong, healthy neighborhoods. They want strong, healthy, stable schools. They want students in our neighborhoods that stay in those neighborhoods because those same kids stay in their schools. There's a lot of discussion and different opinions around policies as to whether building homes does that or having open space does that. The fact of the matter, in my view, is that both do. Open space and parks and access to recreation and healthy lifestyles and meaningful connections with each other create strong neighborhoods, and strong neighborhoods support strong schools. And so from that context, when I talk to the superintendent, and he can't speak for or vote for the school board members, so there's always that question, he's like, we know that the city is working in good faith. We know that you guys are an important partner. We're here, we're available, and we're open to discussions. Please don't drag it on forever, of course. So out of professional courtesy, we won't. But we're just doing these things because they're state required minimums in law. Yeah.
So one of the lines in the ordinance or the resolution says that the mayor and the members of the city council have, through public engagement, determined there's a strong community support in maintaining the property for open space. Other than one rainy, really rainy day, there were only 2 council members that were there. Has there been other engagement, public engagement? Has there been other public
That wasn't me. That wasn't my force.
Sounded just like you, but it was not.
Well, so I don't know which other public engagement has happened through the Ogden City Council. Has there been
I can speak to that. If I'm the one that ask for that provision if I can help. Yes, we were there on the rainy day, and that was a really good discussion. I thought it was a really good gathering, really good questions and good discussion. The neighborhood has organized itself and has a neighborhood Facebook page, for example. But within the neighborhood, Stacia is one of the neighbors who works in community engagement and public engagement for Utah State University. She's offered up a lot of her help and services and support. She's helped draft a community survey. She shared the results of that survey with us. They've had multiple gatherings and potlucks to discuss it. Stacia has been a really good source for bringing neighbors and input from the neighborhood and gathering it and bringing it to me directly so that it's easier for me to kind of digest and summarize. So that's where that was coming from my perspective. If there's anything else council members did, of course, love to hear that too.
Any other questions?
Yeah, it just was, so as far as engagement, I talked to a number of people about it, but just individually, being on the campaign trail recently. And so but it would have been interesting to know what some of those other reports or those other meetings, I don't know if those reports were sent to council leaders or staff or anything. That would have been good to see. But my question really is, I know, and I asked this in the work session, last time the school surplus property, when this came to us, at this point, we had an appraisal already. I don't know how long appraisals take, but we are at the 90th day. And so we've known about this. I don't know I'm assuming we already have an appraisal ordered, but we don't have the answers back on that one. Do we know if the school district's ordered an appraisal, and why would they, you can't speak to why they would have surplused it without that process this time around versus last time. That's an interesting piece of information. It'd be nice to kind of know what the property's appraising at.
Sure. And I can just tell you right now that no, there's not a current appraisal on this property. And compared to the last time we went through the surplus property, we were, I think, ahead of the game when we acquired those properties or looked at that. And it's not necessarily a requirement to have that done before this notification is sent. So we were technically out of order a bit, even though it's nice to have that up front. Usually the process is the intent is signed, then you go through the process of the negotiation. So those appraisals are done. Once we understand that the cities proclaim their intent to do it, then that's when the negotiations begin with those appraisals. So they can take a month to do that. It just depends on, the appraisal's workload and how, what their schedule is for that. But that's my experience has been usually around a month to get a commercial appraisal of this size.
And again, how much is that usually?
It's at least $2,000 for this. I'm not an appraiser and I don't price them, but that's typically what we pay. But somewhere in that ballpark.
Other questions for Jeremy? All right.
I think maybe Jeremy, you might know this. So the process is we say we're going to enter into this intent to purchase, and then all those details get sorted out. I know that I was the new guy back then, but we had set aside money for the future purchase of parks. I don't know if we have an answer on that. I asked in the work session on how much is in that fund. And so assuming that's enough to cover it, the mayor could just enter into that agreement and purchase it. If it's more than the amount that's been set aside, would there be a budget action that would be required in order to proceed with the purchase? Just maybe some clarity on how that process works.
Yeah, and I don't know that I have the answer to that entirely. I know that fund was set up for future acquisition opportunities through the school district.
My memory said it was $2 million that was put into that.
I think that's somewhere in that ballpark. And so if that's there, it really will come down to what is this appraised for, and from there we'll have to see. I mean, it's really hard to move forward. I understand with an acquisition and say, you support it when we don't have that price in place. And I've just reiterate, this really is just the first step saying, yeah, we're interested in purchasing. It doesn't lock us into that actual acquisition. And that would happen with the real estate purchase contract.
Right.
I also have a follow-up question, if that's okay. Well, on my Google search, it says that this amount of land in Ogden, depending on where it is, can range from $300,000 to over $2 million. And I guess I'm curious, we talked a little bit in the work session about it being appraised at the current zoning, right, for residential use. But in this resolution, it specifically says we're going to use it for open space. Mm-hmm. So I have some concern around, is there some negotiation power with the school district? If it's $2 million as residential property, it's probably not the same as open space.
Sure.
So I think there's a big difference there. We all, and honestly, this is just because we all already own this property.
Yeah, right.
So we're kind of buying property for ourselves again. So that's why I'm wondering. And I don't want to short the school district their money, but
Right. No, I understand. It does seem a bit redundant, but the reality is it's a different entity with different sources of funds. So if it was the other way around, we wouldn't, we'd have to look at it that same way if we were disposing it to the school district. The challenge that we have is without that valid appraisal, I'm not going to guess what this is at this point. I would just be wrong. So I won't throw that out there, but
no, I'm sure this is probably lowballing it, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean, we've all had that experience with Google answering our questions, right? It's take it with a grain of salt on that.
It's the best guess we've got now.
Yeah. So I think I would just be a little wary on that part of it. But sorry, you asked me something else. I can't.
Oh, no, just do you think there's any negotiating power with the school district, understanding if in this ordinance it's saying we're leaving it all open space, which is not really what we all discussed before, but...
That is one thing that we can definitely put into it. It doesn't outline in the state ordinance when I read it. It doesn't say these are all the requirements. Typically, when you get appraisal, it will appraise for the highest and best use, and that'll take whatever that zoning is. What's the most money you could get out of that if you were to sell it on the open market? And that's the way that's looked at. However, there are provisions where you can say, okay, if you were to use this as an open space, what would the value be there? And that could be a line item in the appraisal that we could emphasize. And that then would just be a negotiation with the school district saying, like, do you agree that if we keep this open space that you would accept this value? And those are things that could be discussed.
Well, maybe that is something to add if you have to add it in the appraisal request.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Jeremy, can I just also point, I think this is important, again, in my engagement. The number one concern I had, or that was presented to me, was they're just going to put apartments there, right? And so, in fact, we even had a meeting where somebody said, well, it's already been done. They've already heard that they've got a developer selected and they've already sold it and it's going to go to apartments. And I was like, wait, where? I never heard that. But just from a clarity standpoint, that's never been the case. It's not zoned for that. It couldn't do that. In order for it to do that, it would have to come through a rezone request and all that. So I just wanted to, I think that's important to put out there that was, again, in my engagement, that was always the number one concern, that was going to be turned into an apartment building.
And honestly, that's not the first time I've heard that. And this is not the only site that I've heard that rumor on. So I think that's a common thread. Anytime there's a vacant parcel up for sale, somebody out there is yelling that they're going to put apartments on it. The reality is the zoning controls the use of this. And anyone that looks into this will see this is zoned for single family homes. This is you would have to go through an entire rezoning process. We typically don't spot zone in the city where you would have a residential neighborhood with an apartment complex dropped in the middle of it. That would be a tough sell, I think, for anyone that's making that decision. But again, I'm not on the planning commission or anything, but no, as far as my knowledge, this has never been thought of as a future apartment site.
Chair, if I could throw a few things out, I don't know if you need to stand for this, Jeremy, but I do hope you listen.
Okay.
This is a complicated issue, and I'm very grateful that the citizens have organized themselves together to kind of come and talk about the best use of this property for their community. I do think that there's merit in some of the discussion that the citizens have already bought this once. It is exactly the same citizen group. The Ogden School District has the same boundary as Ogden City does. If Ogden City were to purchase this property and then have to clean it off, put in a sprinkler system, put in other amenities to make it a usable park, and then maintain it in perpetuity, there's a huge expense. I propose that the school district has already made this a park when they demoed the school. Now, just to plant a seed, and I think that this, I'm glad you're all here, but I also hope you'll go to the school district meetings and make public comment there. The Mount Lewis Park up in the north end of town, we did make some negotiations with the district. The old, what was the name of that elementary school that we took down? Edison Elementary came down because it had lived its life. The negotiations with the district were that they actually maintain ownership of that property, but the city, through an interlocal agreement, took responsibility for developing it and maintaining it at the city's expense. Now, that sounds like a perfect thing to do here if that's what the neighbors want to do with that property. There is another issue that I think complicate this, and that is that there are other parks in very close proximity to this one that make a bit of a glut in open space. I don't know that anybody really needs that many parks that close. But it's a discussion that has to happen, and you all have to have it. I don't live there. It doesn't matter to me. But anyway, I just want to plant that seed. You guys need to decide, okay, do we need all this park, or is one big one going to do it? How does it function? What are we going to do with the park? And what do we do with the other ones? I mean, the school district, when they were disposing of those other three the last time, school district or board members came to me and said, we'd really like to see that turn into single family homes, because they have kids that feed into our schools, and we really need students in our schools to make our schools viable. So there's all these things that really are things that need to be considered. I trust, and you folks are in a good position to make that consideration. But I hope you'll also have your desires made at the school district meetings as well as here. And those are the things that kind of have to happen before we decide how we're going to acquire this.
Can I speak to that? Yeah. I love the comments because let's be candid, and I've said this a million times. The timeline for the proposal caught me completely off guard. I think it caught all of us off guard. I think that this property, this project, this proposal was totally hijacked and used for political purposes, and it made everything really, really hard. We were really, in our minds, just sort of on track with studies that we were doing and the synchrony of and the timelines of our budget process and the budget hearings and the team that I'm working on right now with bringing me forecasted projections, et cetera, starting in January. That was more the timeline than I can consider what this kind of a cost and implication would have on our budget based on the projections and cost versus actuals, et cetera. I didn't have that opportunity before I put this before you. And so, yeah, the timeline's been challenging. Because it really wasn't this collaborative thing that came about. So we just had to deal with it and be as collaborative as it could be with the timeline that we were dealt. And so I expressed that exact same sentiment or something similar. I don't remember the question asked, but when we were sitting under the tent and the awning and the rain was pouring, I talked a lot about how us and the district share taxpayers. And this is honestly a notion that really has not been used enough in the past. We are not a city with enough wealth, and our families can't afford for us not to work together and act as though and spend as though we are one. And so this notion of having taxpayers having to buy it twice resonates with me. And that's why I want to have room to have the negotiations and discussions with the district. Now, when those discussions happen, I can't ask the superintendent to speak on behalf of all the board members, just like I can't speak on behalf of all of you. I mean, I love the input that we're having and the discussions we've had since it got on the agenda, because now I get to hear the opinions of all 7 of you, and we can just have the discussion and get good input and good feedback. And now I've got some really good input to go back to our discussions with the school district with. That's just how collaboration and communication happen, right? That's how it works. And so I just want you guys to know that I don't disagree with anything you're saying, and that I want to find a way to make this work for Ogden City's people. the same people, the same families, parents and kids that go to the schools. There's just no difference between the two for me. Now, the state law is the state law because most school districts and cities don't share boundaries like we do. That's a real gift, to be honest with you. When we develop plans and assign school resource officers, there's one district and one department, and we are one Ogden. And other districts are really, and cities are really jealous of that. And so let's take advantage of that opportunity and let me have more discussions with the district. The neighborhood can certainly have more discussions with school board members. You guys can do the same as well, right? But I just know that there's good people at the district that want to do good things for the schools and for neighborhoods and for Ogden. So I sense there's room for all these things. I just can't answer for them, just like I can't answer for you. So I really appreciate all the input tonight.
One other point I would like to make, though, and that is that I think if there is a transfer that takes place between the district and the city, fair market value has to be paid. So if in fact that was going to happen, but the district was amenable to partner with us, I guess is a good way to put that, we could rezone that to an O1 property, which would make it much more affordable for the city to acquire. If they're, unless they wanted to maintain ownership, just like they do with the Mount Lewis, that part of the Mount Lewis Park. Those are all things that can be puzzled together and pieced together. So I just kind of want to throw it all out. Madam Chair?
So I have a question real quick. So who's making the decision? Is it the district or is it the school board? Because I think the school board, honestly, this is, they know our time. They know when our budget is. We've got things like earnest money to put down that we don't have money for, those kind of things. Like, I think, is it the district or the board that's making the decision?
I think it's one and the same, frankly.
No.
The board already made the decision, right? They put it up for sale to surplus it. So now I think it would be wouldn't it be up to the superintendent to negotiate?
Probably. Their form of government is a little different than ours. I'm duly elected and independently elected and independent of the council. In their form of government, the district superintendent works at the discretion of the board, just like you would for a nonprofit. You have an executive director and board directors. It's the same setting. How they handle it and how their authorities land, I'm not quite sure. That's sort of theirs to decide. I just know that I've got a really good line of communication with the superintendent.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I am very in favor of our acquiring this property for the city. However, I would really appreciate information from the administration on the study of what Vice Chair Heyer brought up, of what the best use of the land of all of those parks that are kind of in that same area would be. And do you have any timeline on when that study might be available for us as a council to be brought up to speed on?
Yeah, so the study that we're referencing is a parks utilization study. It's the same thing I've referenced to the neighborhood. We were not on the timeline for that to happen as quickly. We've got really, really drafty numbers and projections. What it is it's looking at measuring how many people are using which park and when, and for what type of use. How does it line up with our programming that we do? Are people using this park outside of when we program things like soccer games, et cetera? And where can we start to position those different uses? Is it a playground just for playing, like we have at JC Park? Is it a place that's specifically for playable space? Those kinds of questions, because we're looking at how do we balance all those demands across the entire city. I think we'll be ready sometime around toward the end of the month, around the end of December, to share that report, hopefully, maybe the beginning of the new year, somewhere in there. But yeah, happy to share when it's ready. I just don't want to send a half-baked report.
Just to be clear, this property would not be included in that study,
It's not a
right?
park.
Because it's not a park.
Correct, but I did ask.
not our city
but I
park.
did ask that we go back, since we're in the draft period, that we go back and see if we can use the same methods and procedures to gather the same information for this space as we did for the neighboring properties.
Chair? I'm really glad the neighborhood is here. Thanks for your engagement and thanks for coming. And to dovetail with what Councilperson Ritchie said, it's really easy to talk amongst yourselves and decide between two people that apartments are going there, and then it spreads like wildfire. Pause, pick up the phone and call one of your council members, please. I would much rather take calls than have a lot of misinformation catch fire in a neighborhood. So never hesitate. That's what we're here for. You've heard that this 90-day clock began running after the school district determined that they were going to offer this as surplus property or designate it as surplus property. On day 84, up until day 84, we had heard nothing about the proposal that's before us tonight. That was last Wednesday at 2:30 in the afternoon, 3 hours before the Thanksgiving holiday commences. Okay, so here we are now with really no work session on this and no information, being asked to make a determination about what we want to do about this property. We don't have the parks utilization study. We don't have any information from the community itself with regard to the meetings you've had and your wishes and that sort of thing. And I know the mayor has it, and we'll look forward to learning more as the next 90 days goes if this passes. In addition, we do not know the purchase price of the property. We don't know what the cost of redevelopment of this into a park might be. We do know, just for instance, the number that's kind of rattled around is somewhere between $3 and $5 million to buy the property. We know that Lester Park's redevelopment looks like $7 million. And then there's the cost in perpetuity of maintenance, upkeep, and the cost of water to keep it kept. The question of taxpayers buying this twice. As a parent, I'm a little embarrassed. I bought one of my kids a car, and he was interested in a different car, and I bought the car I already bought back from him and gave it to the next kid in line with a driver's license. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, taxpayers buying property twice. In addition, I'm curious, and I don't have the answer to this. The school district decommissioned that elementary school, tore it down because they couldn't fill it. Are there enough families with children to fill the park now? I think there's a relationship there somehow. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm very glad that the mayor has indicated that they don't have the money to buy this property without coming back to us with a budget resolution or to budget for its purchase. Because even though I'm really excited about parks, I love our trails and the outdoors. Ask anybody, I spent a lot of time in it. I need to consider not just the Taylor Canyon neighborhood and their wishes. I need to consider the entire tax-paying public that is Ogden City when a decision like this is made, because the millions of dollars add up. And honestly, we don't have millions of dollars just laying around. So we need to be very jurisprudent about where we spend our money and where we invest it. And we really need to make it go in Ogden City. So those are my concerns, and I look forward to the engagement that we'll continue to have over the course of the next 90 days.
Can I just piggyback? Because of all these questions that are out there, the thing that would help me to help pass this resolution would be to eliminate the statement that says it's only for open space. Because I feel like that does handcuff me to saying, I don't know if it's the best use because I'm lacking a lot of information. Yep. And I also love open space. And I have spent a lot of time in this land as well when I lived in the neighborhood. So that would make me comfortable if we could just amend it to eliminate that whole statement. That'd be helpful. But I don't know if anybody else feels that
Since
way.
we're piggybacking, I'll piggyback on that.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a contradiction in the packet, right? The proposal reads the adoption of the resolution of intent to purchase a surplus property would allow the city to continue to work with the school district to determine the best purchase price and best purpose of the property, right? Which, and then in the resolution, it doesn't say any other purpose. It just gives one purpose. And maybe it's the same little birdie that told everyone that we were building, that the apartments could be built there. But I had heard from a little birdie that all of you would be here tonight to thank us for buying this to turn it into open space.
Yeah.
I don't know where that birdie comes from, but I think that I agree. It kind of handcuffs what we can do because it's already laid out in the resolution. So maybe, and I was just thinking, I think these people are all here, because they love that area. They love the park that they have had access to, and I'm sure they saw your social media post that talked about turning it into open space. So maybe could you just share a little bit about that vision of what you think it could be or what you want it to be?
Sure. Excuse me. So as I've engaged with the neighborhood, but also as I've engaged with our own park staff, one of the comments, and I'll never forget the time, where'd Monty go? Okay, he had to go pick up his son. So Monty Stewart's our parks director. He and I were sitting with the editorial board, the Standard Examiner, and one of the things that we just continually talk about is that Ogden City doesn't have a lot of big parks. We have a lot of parks. We have a lot of small parks, and people use those some. But what people are really drawn to are large, amenitized parks that draw people for a lot of different uses and a lot of different things. And that's kind of the notion around what we're doing with Lester Park. That is a really important piece of property for that neighborhood. And so if you look at the open spaces that we have, yes, I understand there's 2 parks nearby. That's why we're looking at utilization of those parks. But I think that, in my view, Taylor Canyon offers an opportunity for us to have a large consolidated open space that draws much bigger uses and demand and stable activation from the neighborhood. And so I think that what we put forward, frankly, I think is a good idea. I think that I needed to get through this timeline so that we could have continued discussions with the school district. I needed to do this through this process to see where you guys all stand. Clearly, I know that now. But I think there's an opportunity for us to have a bigger park than we would have had otherwise, and for us to have future decision-making space around the parks that are nearby. I agree, though, I don't think it's fair that taxpayers have to pay it twice. And I would love whatever money we do put into this property would go toward amenitizing it and activating it. That would be, to me, a much more efficient use of taxpayer funds. But again, those are just discussions I have to have with the school district. And at some point, the school district probably has to have input from the school board. But they're probably not going to move on that until we move on this. And so it's a little bit of like cat and mouse, chicken and the egg. But my proposal and my recommendation is that we pursue this with the mindset of having it for open space for the neighborhood, so that we can create a bigger, more concentrated open space that we can invest in and have a bigger, more, I wouldn't quite say regional park, but something that feeds a much broader catchment of the neighborhood and brings more and more people together in one place instead of people dividing it going into multiple places. So I'm just thinking about what's good for the neighborhood, but what's also good for people and helping to develop strong connections with one another.
Well, I think one of the things, thanks, Mayor, I think one of the things that's really hard too is that we have to look at the whole city as well. And I mean, I think you would ask Vice Chair Heyer, do you want more parks in your area? And so I think one of the things that we're or at least I am struggling with is where are other opportunities for us to do the same thing? Are we going to have more opportunities from the school district come down the road and have that same conversation? And so I think that's a struggle as well, because we don't have the information. I think one of the things, and I'll be honest with you on my vote, I think this is I'm struggling with the fact that I have literally 3 more weeks or 4 more weeks on the council, and that this decision that I'm making tonight would actually have implications on what future councils are going to have to make the decision, or where that money's coming from, or what pot of money we're going to use it, or are we going to zone it open space, or those kind of things. And so I'm personally struggling with that. I only have a few more weeks, and it just doesn't seem fair sometimes for me to think that I can be making a decision for something that's going to happen. And it's a fairly large purchase, I would assume, down the road. And whether that's a purchase and or ongoing costs, it's difficult for me to make that call right now. That's where I'm struggling with my decision. So if I was going to be here for another 4 years, I think I would be a resounding yes, but I'm struggling with that right now.
Chair, I would make a proposal. Maybe Since we are kind of running out of time.
We are, thank you.
I think what I want to do so that we can get future discussions. It seems like the sticking point for many of you is the third whereas. Whereas the mayor and members of the Ogden City Council, through public engagement, determined there is a strong community support in maintaining the property for open space. What if we just took that one out so that it does leave some more flexibility in what happens with our discussions in the future, so that we can have them and it doesn't just get killed because of lack of information? So I would make that motion that we do adopt this resolution minus that third whereas in the resolution.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Heyer, second by Councilmember Chaburka to strike the third line, the third whereas, and adopt the resolution. Was that all?
That was it. Yep.
And adopt Resolution 2025-23, declaring our intent to purchase the property.
Chair White,
Yes.
from past experience, it might be better to separate those two.
Thanks.
So you amend the resolution to strike and then vote.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we amend the resolution, everything to complete minus the third whereas.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Vice Chair Heyer, second by Councilmember Chaburka to amend the resolution to strike the third line of the resolution. This would be a
Voice
vote. A voice vote?
Yep.
A voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, that passes.
I think it's important to point, it's not that we're saying we don't want it to be a park.
That's right.
I think it's just,
Exactly.
it's just saying we want to have more information and opportunity to discuss. I think it being a park is a great idea, given the discussion we've already had about the surrounding parks and maybe other opportunities there. But, so, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and
Chair.
there's a lot of opportunities.
Chair, I'd make a motion then that we.
Before we proceed, I just have one comment. Will you
Okay.
excuse me, please? I just feel like this motion, in interest of the neighborhood, in interest of the outcry from that community, that it's an important part that we maintain that as open space. And so that's why I voted against the motion.
Understood. So, Chair, I would make a motion that concerning Resolution 2025-23, that we adopt that resolution as amended.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Heyer, second by Councilmember Graff to adopt the proposed Resolution 2025-23 with the amended language. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Blair,
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka,
Aye.
Councilmember Graff,
Aye.
Councilmember Myers,
Aye.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heyer,
Aye.
Chair White.
I'm going to abstain. All right, that passes. And I just really feel that this whole, there's a lot of questions that are going to come up that I won't have an answer to because I'm not going to be here. And so that's the number one driving force. Had I been here another term, I would have voted yes. So with that, we only have a few minutes.
Chair, can I add some comment too? I want to say out of respect to the council that I've never been opposed to opposition. I've always been in support of open communication and dialogue, and that's what you did. And so, but I just want to reinforce too that when I laid out that idea that we could have one concentrated open space for a neighborhood, that we could draw a bigger portion of the neighborhood together in one place instead of multiple places, that's truly how I feel. And because of the timelines in state statute and what are the required minimums, we didn't have time to have all the discussions and provide all the information.
Yep.
While you were having the discussion, I went in and took the email with the attachment that Stacia sent me yesterday and shared it with you guys. So now you have it. I'm sorry I was a day late on that. But that just goes to show the timelines that we were forced under because of politics, rhetoric, and freaking gamesmanship. It drives me crazy. It's like we're just trying to do good faith and good things for community and for people. And this is why Washington, D.C. doesn't work, is because people use politics to drive wedges and achieve some sort of an agenda that leads to the little birdie rumors and the high density housing that Councilmember Ritchie, those are all just wasted energy. It's never been discussed. It's never been allowed under the current land use or any future that would be considered, I think. And so that's what's been so challenging, is it's so hard to have genuine dialogue and engagement in good faith. And I'll just tell you that I've seen nothing but that desire from the neighbors I've spoken with, is they're just good people that want to do a good thing for their neighborhood. And if we had not met the timeline for tonight, and it was just last week I told you guys in joint leadership that your attorney advocated on your behalf that it has to be a resolution before you today because of the way that the statute was written. So I was proceeding as of just last week that we could just communicate this through a letter to the district, and I didn't think it'd be this big of a deal. But because your attorney advocated on your behalf, informing me of the requirement, we had to push the pedal on this thing. So I'm really sorry it put you in a difficult position without all the information you needed, but that's just the political reality that I found myself in as well. But what you've done tonight has given us the opportunity to have more conversation. That's all I've ever asked. All I ever ask moving forward is to talk and to talk in good faith, to not spread rumors and to just talk to each other and to give one another some benefit of the doubt that we're here trying to do good things for good reason. Because if we had not met tonight's deadline, the opportunity for us to consolidate open space and to even have conversations about those other parks would have been lost and lost forever. And so we had to meet the timeline. I'm glad that we did. I'm glad you did. Thank you for your support in that. Thank you to the staff who helped expedite this and help make it happen. I know it's been hard. And thank you to the neighbors for your genuine engagement and input along the way. This is the struggle of governing and leading. It is what it is. And it is an absolute blessing to do it. Thank you for letting me be here.
And I would encourage the community to continue to be engaged and to figure out what that next step is. So thank you. All right. Next on our agenda is public comments. I will give you, we're under a timeline here tonight. We have to leave in about 4 minutes. So if there's some public comment, that'd be great.
One person. You get 3 minutes. Give them 1 minute.
You missed it one.
Yeah, go to 1 minute.
And hopefully somebody else will use that.
Checked.
Ryan Janroy, business owner here in Ogden, hangar owner at the airport. I want to speak to the council and the admin side of the city. Appreciate the difficult, long-standing conversations about airport management, specifically leases. Next week in your work session, you'll be continuing that discussion. My only statement is, and I hope Ben's listening, is I think it's time where citizens of Ogden, business owners of Ogden, council, city administration take the final lead on airport leasing and policy. My personal opinion, not speaking for any group, is the consultants have consulted and consulted and consulted, and I think it's time for a consolidated what Ogden, what Utah, how Utah people feel about personal property, and what's best for the city, what's best for the airport, keeping in consideration laws and guidance every time that FAA guidebook is mentioned. No offense against GS 13s or 14s, but that's not written by elected officials, that's written by a bureaucrat. And so we should keep that in mind. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Lewis, Ogden City resident. I want to thank you, Ben, or Mayor, for taking the point of view you have, because it's refreshing to think that there's other ways of doing things, other ways of looking at things, and getting involved with the community, hearing what they want. And I think our last election, I'm not sure I like how it turned out, but I think that was a statement. And I read things on why that's happening. It's just an alternative. They're unhappy with what's going on, and so they vote for someone else. And I think the people in Ogden aren't happy with what the decisions. It's not all about revenue. There's other things that are important. And I don't know if you're following the housing market. Are any of you following the housing market? Because it is going down. Nobody can afford to buy a house. They can't afford to build homes that people can afford to buy. I think it's time you started looking at all this housing you're building, and that seems to be the first alternative. Oh, let's put a house there. Let's put high density housing here. Let's put 96 little teeny homes on an acre. It's not what we want. So I wish you guys would really kind of be a little open-minded to looking at things differently. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rob Allred, born in Ogden 60 years ago. Real quick, shout out to Mayor Nadolski. I don't have a negative opinion of political people. I appreciate everyone's service. But this is the first time in Ogden or across the board that I felt like somebody actually cared what we had to say, listened, explained both sides. He didn't just say, yeah, I'll do it. He told us all the reasons it would be difficult. I'm extremely disappointed in this process of, I'm not trying to place blame, but of communication. And then for all of us to be here, and here we have 4 minutes, and that some resolution was, done and voted without us even hearing about it. Very disappointing, very disappointing. I am going to say, if I've got my 2 minutes still, a couple of points I didn't prepare because I thought we were here for a thank you celebration. I've bought and sold the real estate. I have an MBA degree. I have some business acumen. I have some history with the city. But first of all, a couple of points that came up. I don't really buy into this buying it twice, okay? I pay the school board through property taxes. I pay other taxes for the city. I don't understand it's a reallocation of resources. If the school board doesn't get it, my property tax can go up. It has to come from somewhere. If you pay more, I've got to pay for something. It's not paying for it twice. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Maybe somebody can explain that. It's a reallocation of the money is what's happening. And another point I want to make, this is not new additional green space. Yeah, I want some for my neighborhood too. That has been a park for over 50 years. Okay, that's not a new 3-year thing. We had Little League football practice on that yard. We played baseball there. We sleigh riding there. That all still happens. This is not new space. Talk a little bit on, I've got a minute left, on expenses. This space is already fenced. It's already sprinklered. I know the lawn's not in great shape. If we were to put bathrooms in, there has to be plumbing there from the school. We're not retrenching out of nowhere. Okay, it has parking off the street. Let's look one thing. My neighbors up by Thomas Park, they don't like it. They don't like it because people park there. There's no parking. They can't even get up and down the street. Kids are running out in the street. I can't speak for all of them. I spoke with several of them that live within 100 yards of that park. That could be some prime real estate. The views off the back of there, a cul-de-sac through there could bring in a fair amount of money and go to this concept of a bigger park. There's a lot of things that could be done. I've heard, I don't have the exact, but sounded reliable, of an individual or group that's willing to fund amenities on that park.
Thanks, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Kirk Clossy. Just short and sweet, I appreciate your efforts, truly. I appreciate your viewpoints. You're all thinkers. I appreciate that. No matter how it goes, I think there's a couple things to consider. Polk Elementary is, from what I understand, is bursting at the seams. It was the kids that were in our neighborhood went to Polk. Our neighborhood is growing. I feel like if we could purchase it now and give Ogden City Schools first right of refusal for a future school, you've banked some good ground. It's being taken care of while we use it. And if you could make some kind of arrangement there, even if you could do a lease or we'll maintain it, you hang on to it, some kind of a legal, you don't have any investment other than time. I truly believe that our neighborhood, and I don't know where our neighborhood boundaries are, they could go clear to South Ogden. There's good people everywhere. The amenities, the restrooms, I'll bet you $1 to a donut that could be supplied by labor and donation, and the city would have zero commitment financially. I think there's multiple opportunities here, and this is an opportunity. Life goes around, and it's not always around a dollar bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're going to have to go to our next agenda item. I just want to make it very clear that we passed this resolution tonight, and it is going to the next step. You guys realize that, right? All right, because it's sounding like you're not realizing that. It is.
I don't understand what the resolution says.
It's our intent to purchase or to work with the school district to purchase that property.
You took the option of the park.
Correct.
No, we didn't take the option off.
We didn't take it off. We just didn't list it as that it had to be that. It still can be.
Well, that's not
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just
So-
understand what it is. That's all.
We're going to go to the next agenda item. Do you want to come back for public comment, or we certainly can after our.
Yeah, we're going to be a little while.
2 hours or something.
Yeah, probably. Yes, correct.
We are all available by email, phone, text. Please, yeah.
All right.
Chair, I would make a motion that we adjourn into closed session for one of the 7 items listed.
All right.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion by Vice Chair Heyer, second by Councilmember Graff to adjourn into the closed session. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Chaburka,
Aye. Oh. Aye.
Councilmember Graff,
Aye.
Councilmember Myers,
Nay.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Aye.
Councilmember Blair,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heyer,
Aye.
Now I get to vote.
Chair White.
Aye. That passes. All right.
So we'll be coming back in here.
Yeah, I think, it'll be a couple hours. We can come back in and have public comment after that, and we can adjourn from there. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My biggest argument.
Reconvening.
We made some changes, Marcia, while you were gone.
Made some changes.
Changed a bunch of it, actually.
Is there anybody? Oh, Floor. Good for you.
Nicole,
Sticking it out.
sticking it out.
Hang up her phone.
No, I bet she.
No, what we have to say is, Floor, if you really are on and have not hung up and you're just
Yeah.
sleeping, you must raise your hand.
Checking in on to make sure they hung in there. Nicole.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, are you ready for us?
Just about.
Okay.
Thank you, Officer Wheelock.
Yeah, I was going to say
Thank
kudos
you.
Yeah.
kudos to the officer.
Yeah.
Thank you, staff. Thank you.
Oh, in there. I'm like, where's he been the whole time? All of you.
Never far away.
Well, and thanks for the communications team staying too.
Staff.
Big night.
You just do calls now?
Okay.
They look like they've been through the ringer.
Yeah.
I know, they were ready.
It's 8.
Inspired neighborhood.
Yep.
Don't eat that. You.
You ready? All right.
I'm fine. We'll see.
Welcome back to the City Council meeting of December 2nd, 2025. Please note that all council members are still present.
Physically.
Physically, correct. All right, we ended with in the middle of public comment. Is there anyone that wants to make public comment? You better.
Yeah, exactly.
We were almost getting ready to leave, and then there possibly, no. Linda Sanchez. While things are happening in the nation, we don't have much control of what's happening nationally. But we do have control over what's happening locally. And that's why I think it's very important that I stayed the extra to make sure that my points were heard, because I feel like it's my citizen responsibility to make sure that you all know how I feel. And I don't take that lighthearted. I had been listening to a program, and it said how to strengthen our communities. And it's talking about family, government, church, schools, that type of thing. How we can go together to make things more cohesive. With that being said, I want to say, while the school, I know you guys are deliberating on that. When I very first started coming to these meetings, the first thing I always heard was we don't have enough open space. And once we lose it, sometimes we don't have a choice. My personal opinion is I think we should keep all the parks, because at some point that might become more of an asset to us, for us. I know things are hard. With this, I'd like to say, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. So sometimes we have to do hard things, and sometimes it's hard. But just know that sometimes that makes us stronger. With that being said, I have a couple of questions. As far as I would like to make sure that we're getting the parking, since it's going to be snowing, what are we doing to inform people? Because some people still don't know that they're going to be ticketed if that's the case. I feel like we should be proactive if we are going to actually enforce that. And then also watched a video that I was really upset with, which actually I'm going to retract that, because I talked to Mayor Nadolski, and he told me about the My Home project that does not, I guess since I brought it up, I might as well say something. An elderly person needed help with like the lawn and that type of stuff. So the code enforcement, unfortunately, this man, he was a YouTuber, and he actually got arrested for volunteering his time to help his neighbor or to help some random person. So I just want to make sure that there is some program available. And he did say that there was a hometown project, but unfortunately, I don't know that we all know about that, because I think there'd be a lot more people that would be willing to help support people in that type of stuff. And I know I went over my time, but I'm going to say something else. This year,
Go ahead.
This year is the anniversary, 250 years. And I just want to make sure, I know things, planning and stuff. What are we doing to celebrate our country here locally so that we can get people together? I think that's very important that we start now, and so that we can make sure that we are building a community that is together and family oriented. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Linda.
Yep.
Thank you.
Should we let Laura go again, or just?
I could hear
She's
from Laura.
got something to say.
Yeah, I could hear from Laura.
No, I'm not mad now.
You're not mad. Okay. All right.
Oh, but I wouldn't recognize it. Yeah.
All right. Let's. Anyone else on the line?
Negative.
Okay.
All asleep.
All right.
Oh, there.
All right, well, thanks. I don't have an answer for the parking and what we're going to do for communications, but I'm sure that we can relay that to administration. It sounds as though they have a fairly they have a communications team that might be able to get that information out. So thank you for that. And then I'll let Vice Chair Heyer talk about the 250th year anniversary stuff, as he is a member of the commission.
I am a member of the America 250, the Ogden Weber America 250 committee. And there are lots of planning things in place. There's not much concrete at this point, but you can expect our council to have a little bit more of a celebratory flag ceremony at least once a month through this next year, with honor guard and so on and so forth. We'll have some education of how our country was founded and some of the interesting little stories that you'd never hear otherwise. And that'll be part of that flag ceremony. So those things will be pretty cool. Some of the things that have been talked about, of course, it's not concrete yet, but if you remember during July last year, there was the big flag over the Washington. That will be visiting Ogden also. We've got to be a little careful how long that stays, because the sun beats that thing up really bad. But it's gonna spend a prominent place in July on Washington. So our rodeo and our parade will be a lot more attuned to America 250 topics. There's just a lot being talked about, and if you have ideas, please contact me and tell me what you think we ought to be doing, because we're looking for stuff to do. So,
and in addition to America being 250, Ogden is 175.
Yeah,
this year. Yeah. So that's been shared with the administration too, and I know they're fixing to start thinking about it.
Chair, I could answer on the My Hometown Ogden initiative. There are 2 community resource centers in Ogden that do weekly evenings where they do classes. They talk about, you can learn how to play the ukulele, you can learn to speak Spanish, you can learn to speak English. And they don't do it necessarily all throughout the year, but they have sessions that they do. The building that we approved the purchase of will become one of those resource centers. And in conjunction with that effort, they do 4 days of service. So 4 times a year, on a Saturday, they invite anybody to come and volunteer their time helping to clean up yards or those types of projects. If you go to the community resource centers, the representatives there, they'll have little badges or lanyards that they wear. You can suggest properties if there's a property you feel like needs to be addressed. I think I saw that same YouTube clip. I like watching that guy going around and cleaning up yards. I don't think that that person that was arrested was in Ogden. I think that was not Utah.
Indiana or something.
But the point is that, we should encourage people that want to help out and serve and lift up each other. And so that's the whole, and then the last thing on that is that My Hometown Ogden does present once a year to the council in a work session. I don't remember exactly when that happened, but we could find that date and you could watch their presentation to learn more that way as well. So it's a great program.
They've got a website.
And they've got a website, yep.
My hometown
Ogden.
My hometown Ogden.
My Hometown Ogden, yeah.
All right. Comments from the mayor?
Wow.
Comments from the comments from the council?
I think it was last time we were here, Linda Sanchez wrote us all a note, and just thank you. It was very, very nice of you to do that. I mean, to take the time and the energy and effort to do that. Thank you. That meant a lot. It really meant a lot.
I think my only comment would be, I know that the room is now mostly empty for those who are here to talk about Taylor Canyon. I do look forward to getting the answers to the questions that we had. I know it's a tough position to be in, but I hope that people don't view that as the park is entirely off the table. I think that's very much still in play and on the table. As me as a council member, I felt like there are just questions I'd like to get answered and more dialogue and discussion. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm sure more decisions will come. But
Yep, we got 90 days.
we got 90 more days. Yeah,
And they mean 90.
Yeah, 90 more days. Yeah.
All right.
Minimum. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Graff, second by Vice Chair Hyer to adjourn. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Meeting adjourned. Thanking. Thanks for hanging.
You lady.